Okay, so this week's build is going to be more about the idea than the complexity of a build. Now, I feel like sometimes as makers, we put this burden on ourselves where we have to make these really crazy, intricate things, and sometimes it's more just an idea, and the complexity can be really simple. And that's kind of what this build is. It was something that I saw sitting on my shelf, and I thought that could be really cool, and I went ahead and pursued it. So I hope you enjoy this build. Let's do it. Okay, so I had this Matchbox VW Bug, and I have a really fun idea. But first, I need to take a drill bit and drill out these rivets. Now, there's a lot of Hot Wheel customizers on YouTube. You can find links for them all over the place. I actually followed some of their tips. You drill out the rivets until they're flat, and then you can pry that bottom piece off, and then it just pops right off. Now, my idea is I want to take this and make a beetle insect kind of display. So first I got to break this all apart. This is a plastic piece bottom on this Matchbox, so the wheels pop out really easy. Some of the diecast ones, it's a little bit more difficult, but pretty much the same idea. It's just sanding off some of the little screws there. And here's some of those legs. Now, I did 3D print these legs, and I know a lot of builders have some issues with 3D printing, but it really is a nice tool, and these files were free, they were available, and I was able to use a portion of these for this build. So I'm going to do some additional sanding and some work because I didn't like exactly how they were, but I think they'll fit really nicely inside the body under the hubs, and I think that's going to work pretty nice for me. Now, these little nubs, I didn't love how they were just sitting flat on the thing. So I did go ahead and, as you saw just a minute ago, I did sand all these pieces down just so it felt a little bit more like an insect joint. So I'm doing that for all 6 legs there. And now what I'm going to do is to spray paint these, I labeled each popsicle stick. I just did a tiny dab of CA glue and then a little bit of kicker. And that gives me a good little base to hold on to these as I spray paint them. And that way I can spray paint and prime everything in the round. Now for the roof here, just by the process of painting, they didn't really paint that rag top, and I thought that might be kind of cool if I painted that maybe black, and it's going to break up the body just a little bit. So I'm just masking this off with some blue painter's tape, and then I'm going to take it outside and just spray it with a black flat spray paint, just rattle can, and peeling this off. As always, any maker knows that's like Christmas right there. It feels so good. Now my buddy let me borrow some of this mica powder, and I did try and just brush it straight on the car, but the car was too glossy and too slick, so it didn't quite work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this matte clear varnish and I'm going to spray the whole car, and what that's going to do is that's going to allow the mica to have something to grip onto. So I just kind of lathered the whole car up. And then once I got the whole car lathered up, I kind of just carefully brushed it off. And then here it is. I haven't done a clear coat on this yet, but once I do a clear coat on it, it looks so good. Now for the legs, I'm going to go ahead and paint them like a dark gray. A lot of bug or insect legs are kind of this blackish gray. I did paint them and just kind of dry brushed them gray, but it was not quite enough, so I just did a brown or Vallejo rust wash just to give it a little extra tint to it. I don't know if that's like totally accurate or not, but in the end, I thought it gave it a nice little effect. So they're not just straight up black, they got a little bit of extra in it. I went ahead and redid some of the details on the car. Some of them are gone, and there's the gloss coat. Oh, it looks so good. Now I got to put this all together. So what I did was I have a shadow box, and I'll show you that in a second. But I'm going to cut a piece of white foam core here, and I'm going to mount it onto that white foam core. You can see after I clear coated, that black turned a little too gloss, so I went ahead and retaped it again, and I sprayed it with that black matte one more time. And I like the contrast of the gloss and the matte. That looks pretty cool. So yeah, here's that shadow box I was talking about. I got this at a yard sale for $1, and it's a little banged up and scratched. You can see up in the corner there, it's got some dings on it. So I'm going to go ahead and mask off all the glass and everything, and then I just gave it a nice spray paint with that flat black. Looks really nice. Now to the assembly here. Got the window, the interior. Just slide that inside, and then I'll just clip the base on. Now, I'm just going to glue this all together because I don't... when you see the customizers, sometimes they'll tap the bottom and they'll actually put new screws in and stuff. This is going to be displayed. I'm never going to have to do that again, so I just took some CA glue, just glued a couple little dabs, drop that in, and this works out pretty nice for me. Again, I don't have to take this apart. You'll see in the end how it's mounted up. I'm not going to be needing to unscrew this ever again. So again, I'm just putting some glue on the bottom part there so I can glue the chassis on, kind of pinch this all together, get it all to click back. Sometimes those little rivets, you have to get them just right and they pop right back into place. So you can see that popped right there. Now, I'm making a little bug display. I just put this in Illustrator and typed it out and printed it. And I found the center point there, and then I found the end of the paper on either side, got it all centered up. And you'll see here I can just kind of align the left edge to the right edge, and that's going to look pretty cool. So I'll glue that into place. I'm just using some hot glue. I have everything laid out how I wanted it, so now I can just lay the body straight on again, adjust it, align it. I did push the legs up a little bit higher so I had a little bit more space for my little name tag at the bottom. Originally, I tried super gluing these legs on the front and the back. It just wasn't holding, so I went ahead and used some hot glue, glued that into place. Everything seems to be holding fine. I've got it on display, hanging on my wall right now, and it's looking pretty nice. So I went ahead and just hot glued all 6 legs, front and back. And the hot glue is nice because I can adjust them, move them around a little bit, and I actually raised it up higher into the wheel well, so it has a little bit of dimensionality to it. Here I'm just gluing on the back leg here, doing some adjustments, hold it in place so that hot glue dries and looks really great. Now, for the side of the car, I didn't want a big glob of hot glue, so I did use the super glue, and for whatever reason, it super glued great on the side there. I'm going to go ahead and clean up this glass, and we'll call this one good. Okay, that was super fun. And again, it's not really about the complexity. It was more about the idea and putting it all together. It looks so good. And one little cherry on top is I had it hanging on the wall just so I could kind of see. And I like to immerse myself with my piece and get a vibe for it. And is it working? And my wife saw it and I said, "Hey, what do you think of that?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, is that one of the pieces that you just bought at the gallery?" And I was like, "Oh no, I made that." And she's like, "Oh really? That looks super good." And I was like, "Yes, that's awesome." So again, it's not always about making something super complicated. If you've got a cool idea, pursue it. Like, go make it. Don't worry what other people are going to think or saying, "Oh, that's just a simple head swap or something." Like, it doesn't matter. You're the maker. Go have fun with it, and it's just so rewarding. So let's do a couple of little shots of this thing so you can see it up close. And as always, it's a great day to be a toy nerd. Have a great one.